All right, let's talk about the Nikita versus Koen fight.
He's running back. Come back. Here he goes. Nikita's in. Stops.
What an entertaining fight. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a good fight. Now, initially starting off the fight, I think that first round definitely went to Koen. That was a bit of a testing and adjusting round for Nikita. So he needed that round to feel out the fight, to see Koen's style and adjust and make changes, which he did do in the second round. And rounds after that, for the next probably at least 4 rounds. So probably up until round 5 or 6, I think Nikita was pretty much dominating the fight. And it came after that first round. So the second round came out, started using that head movement, which was slick, beautiful head movement. Nikita's always had an issue defensively, and that implementation of that head movement into his game is a big dramatic change in his arsenal. It's a big positive outcome for the upgrades of his skills. It was definitely, that head movement was definitely a perfect inclusion into his game, considering his defensive skills in his previous fights has definitely been lacking, and that has filled that gap for that lack of defensive skills. Just moving that head and having that slick head movement and slipping those shots, it was a good skill set that he brought to the game. I mean, there's different types of defensive skills that you can acquire, that you can try to obtain, that you can try to work on. And maybe his team have just seen his style and just thought, well, hey, you know what? Let's not aim for the high guard and keeping your guard up and trying to block shots that way, because maybe they feel like offensively he's better off keeping that style and his power and adding the head movement to fill the gap defensively for Nikita. Maybe that's their thought. I don't know. What would I know? But anyway, that inclusion of his head movement was beautifully done for the rounds that he could keep it up. Although he couldn't maintain it. And the reason why he couldn't maintain it is because he hasn't been conditioned in the sparring sessions, in the training sessions, to maintain that. Although maybe he has been able to maintain it to a certain standard, but when you're in a fight, it's a different standard and things are a lot harder to do in a fight, to achieve in a fight, and that energy gets drained a lot quicker in a fight. But he may have been able to maintain it in the gym, because another part to the reason why he started to fatigue and not maintain that head movement, I think, was Koen's style. I don't think Nikita was prepared for that sort of style of fight that Koen fought. It was just a pressure cooker fight. It was just him coming forward constantly, regardless of how many blows were thrown and how many shots he got hit with. It was just constant pressure. Keep coming forward, keep coming forward. And that's what he maintained throughout the fight. Koen just kept on coming at him, and even Nikita in the interview mentioned how he would hit him and had hit him with some big shots, and he just kept on coming.
Like, I was hitting him with some of the hardest shots I've ever done, and he just looks at me and he's like, come on. It's like, fuck's sake.
So I think that's probably more of a reason why Nikita started to fatigue towards the middle to late stages of the fight. I think it was because that pressure, that constant pressure, it kind of reminded me of Nikita's brother, Timzu, how he just maintains that pressure. That's what Koen did to Nikita. Koen just maintained that pressure, regardless of how many shots he was getting hit with. The tough guy just kept on coming forward, and having to constantly move around the ring, back up, move around, trying to constantly get away from someone that's just walking forward and just not stopping, regardless of how many punches you're throwing at them. That just drains you, and not just physically but also mentally. So I think that was probably the key factor to the reason why Nikita fatigued out in those middle rounds. That, and plus also the head movement that he implemented, but mainly the pressure, I think. So that implementation of that head movement worked a treat to fill the gaps of his lack of defensive skills. So I think he needs to, moving forward, he needs to maintain that head movement and condition himself in the ring, condition himself in training, in sparring, to be able to keep that head movement going throughout the rounds. Maybe not as much every round, but at least most rounds be able to maintain that head movement to facilitate the lack of defense he has at times. But that was probably the biggest probably the biggest standout for improvement from Nikita that I seen last night. So I think he needs to maintain that. And another thing that he did also, I think, improve was not trying to throw big shots all the time. When he did catch Koen with some shots, he was sticking with the combinations, and that was ultimately how he ended the fight, because it wasn't swinging wildly trying to get the person out of there with one big shot. It was him strategically using combinations and only at times throwing big shots to try and get the man out of there. But it was mostly combinations. So that is another improvement, I think, from Nikita. So all in all, it's looking good for Nikita, I think. It was a good win. He's in the world rankings now, and he's just got to continue to work on those skills and keep improving, because each fight you want to do better than the last fight, and that's what he has to aim to do. Next for Nikita, Zerafa. Does he fight Michael Zerafa?
Guys are solely on that. I want the zoo. I want the zoo boys.
For me, I think he should analyze his division and the world-class rankings that he's currently in to see who would be the best fighter for him to fight, who would be fit for him to fight, who makes sense, which fighter makes sense for him to fight, instead of rushing into an all Aussie fight. See what other fighters are around in the division, see what fights actually make sense, see what fights will test him skill-wise, but not be a test that is too hard to overcome. That may be Zerafa, it might not be. Zerafa hasn't been as active over the last couple of years, so maybe Zerafa is the perfect fit for him. But I think him and his team should not rush into making a deal with Zerafa. Although there's probably the most money at the moment for that fight for Nikita, maybe it's not the best fight for him moving forward. But maybe it is. Maybe it is. I think they just need to analyze it a bit more. And ultimately, it's probably going to come down to money, and it's going to be like, well, hey, we've got a big money fight. It's probably going to be the last one until you get up to those world rankings. So let's just take this now, and maybe they'll see it as, hey, Zerafa's not much of a threat, and you'll still offer Nikita a challenge to help him progress his skill set and continue improving in his game. But we'll wait and see. That's how I think they should look at it and analyze what fighters he should be fighting. Anyway, that's how I think him and his team should be looking at it. Make a bit of a calculated decision first before saying yes to Zerafa. Analyze the fighters around you first before saying yes to Zerafa. But I think Nikita and Zerafa fight will most likely happen. I'm probably 80 to 90% sure that that fight's probably going to happen, which isn't a bad thing. I wouldn't mind saying it. I think at this point in time, Nikita being more active, he probably would come in as the favorite, and he might come in as the better fighter considering that Zerafa's been inactive. Anyway, we'll find out soon. When I know, I'll try and let you know. Okay, I was just about to start editing this video, but then I had a chat with my brother, a couple of text messages, and he prompted something that I was thinking of after the fight, and that is where Nikita goes to start progressing his career. Although my brother thinks that he didn't do too well and it was a sloppy fight, and yeah, it probably was sloppy from time to time in the fight. But as I said before, I think he's definitely showed improvement, and that's all that you want to do throughout your career, is continue to improve. However, another key factor to him progressing his career is for him to get out of the domestic scene. For him, he has the opportunity to be able to train in the States, to be able to train and spar with some of the best fighters in the world. If you're going to make it in the fighting game, the place to go is America. He already has his brother over there. He's already training over there. That should be the home base for both of them. And I think they both should spend the majority of their training time over there. So for Nikita to continue to progress his career, I think ultimately that is the next leap, the next step that he needs to take to get his boxing game to that next elite level and progress it a lot quicker than he would if he were to stay in Australia. I think he needs to take advantage of being able to go over to the States and train with the best fighters and just get out of the Aussie domestic scene, go over, train with the best, fight with the best, and his progression will dramatically go up. His progression will dramatically increase instead of it, if he stays in Australia, potentially just going stale and plateauing. So that's not what he wants. He wants to continue this progression of skills and continue to get better, and you're only going to get that surrounding yourself with the best fighters. And which place has that? America, the land of the brave, home of the free, the USA. Anyway, I just wanted to quickly highlight that small point. Anyway, that's all I got, unless I think of something else. Until next time, peace out.